Hi there, this is Elizabeth from Gabriel Family Adventures, and today I'm going to share a review for you all of the Vidanta Resort in Acapulco, Mexico. And this is a resort that is part of the Vidanta Residence Club Timeshare program. And so we stayed there using our exchange week from our RCI timeshare, and this was the first time we'd ever stayed at a Vidanta resort, and we actually stayed at another one after this because we had such a wonderful experience at Vidanta Acapulco. And so we stayed at the Riviera Maya, and I'll link that below if you want to see that review, because that was a little bit more of a mixed bag than Vidanta Acapulco. So here we go. Getting to Acapulco from the United States, if that's where you're traveling from, is a little tricky. It is really far south in Mexico, and Mexico is an enormous country. So what you usually have to do is fly through Mexico City. And the Mexico City airport is enormous, and it flies all over the world. So it can be a little tricky if you have kind of a shorter layover. So just if you're booking your tickets down to Acapulco, be mindful of that you'll want to give yourself some time in the Mexico City airport just because it is so big. It's a little confusing. My husband and I together do speak a little bit of Spanish, and we can read a lot of Spanish, and we still kind of struggled a little bit. So, we made it to our connecting flight and everything was fine, but just give yourself a little bit of time. And then getting from Mexico City to Acapulco is a really quick flight, and when you're there, once you get to the Acapulco airport, it's really easy to navigate your way out, to get a taxi, and to get over to your resort. And so we were staying at the Vidanta, and it is not an all-inclusive. And so what we decided to do is we asked our driver to stop at a big grocery store before we even got to the resort. So we actually did our grocery shopping, with all of our suitcases and stuff. And we just kind of stocked up on some breakfast things, and we weren't sure how much the food was going to cost at the resort. And so we got a few sort of snack items, some sandwich items, and definitely some drinks so we could mix some things, and then went down to Vidanta. And this was one of our first experiences with a mega resort. And so when you get to the property, there's actually a few places you can go depending on where you're checking in. And so they have a few different hotels that are all part of the Vidanta experience. And we were staying at the Grand Mayan, which is kind of the mid-level of all of the different types of Vedantas you can stay at. So you can stay at the Sea Garden, there's the Mayan Palace, the Grand Mayan, and then you move up to the Bliss, and the Grand Lux is kind of your top end Vidanta experience. And so the Grand Mayan's right in the middle, and we booked a 2-bedroom residence because we were staying with some friends, and the check-in process was really easy. We brought all of our timeshare paperwork just in case. I always bring printouts of everything, in case there's an issue with, did we pay all of the resort fees and stuff like that. So I'm always kind of careful. And, when you pull up to the lobby, it's big, grand, and beautiful. And our check-in process went really quickly. And then we went up to our room. Our room was ready right away. And it was significantly larger than what we were kind of thinking in our head. So that was a really nice, pleasant surprise. And so, we dropped off all of our groceries and unpacked our stuff. And the room, it's a bedroom on each side, and then you meet in the middle, and there's a big living room, there's a kitchen so you can cook things, and it's really nice, it's really comfortable. So we were very satisfied with the room option that we chose. And when we were booking it through our timeshare, the reason I think I was so pleasantly surprised was that it didn't seem to be very expensive. And so we thought, okay, what kind of condition is this resort going to be in? It kind of seems like too good to be true, the cost we were paying. And we went in the summertime, so it's not the high season for American tourists. The high season to go to Mexico is usually around kind of Thanksgiving through the New Year, so maybe that was part of the difference. But I think for the price you pay, based on all of the different exchanges we've done using our timeshare, I do think Vidanta is the best exchange. So I do recommend it for that. I think bang for your buck, you do get some good quality stuff. Now, the property itself. So at the Vidanta Acapulco, you have your Grand Mayan and your Mayan Palace, these kind of two huge buildings with all of the rooms in them, and they're pretty close to each other. And the grounds kind of, you can wander in between, you can go to either pool, and they actually have several different pools, and depending on where you are on the resort, they've got some great stuff, like they've got a live DJ at the Mayan Palace, they've got these beautiful water fountains and lagoons and things like that. And so the grounds are stunning. It is a big resort. It's not the biggest resort I've ever stayed at. I will say that the Vidanta Riviera Maya is way bigger, and we've also stayed at the Hard Rock in the Dominican Republic, and that thing is enormous. So this was smaller, but it is a little, you do a lot of walking, so if you do have some mobility issues, this might be a little too big for you as a resort. But what's nice is, let's say you don't want to listen to the live DJ cranking dance music in the middle of the day, well then you can go to the pool at the Grand Mayan and you won't have that. So you have some options which are really nice. And what we were so excited about was that they have a lazy river. And we spent a lot of time just floating around the river, and it was great. It was so relaxing, so wonderful. So I had never stayed at a resort that had a lazy river before on site, and it was totally worth it. So I loved the grounds. I thought they were very well maintained. The rooms, the grounds, everything were really clean. So that was nice. Another thing that surprised us about Vidanta Acapulco is that the food, so in our heads we thought, okay, the rooms weren't very expensive. We paid, with our friends and I combined, maybe $600 a couple or something like that for a whole week. And so we thought, okay, they'd probably get you on the food. And it wasn't the case. The food was reasonably priced. The, kind of an average amount that you would spend in the United States for a lunch, and the portions were large. The food quality was really good. At the Balchi restaurant, it was actually some of the best fish tacos I've ever had in my life. So we were really impressed with not just the quality of the food, but also how affordable it was. And when you dine, there's lots of restaurants to choose from. So there's some on site at the Grand Mayan and the Mayan Palace, but then you can also go to some restaurants over at the Sea Garden, and you just take a little tram and then they'll take you on over. I do recommend making reservations because some of the restaurants did fill up quite quickly. And we were quoted one time, maybe it was a 90-minute wait or something like that for dinner. So when you're going there, just make sure that you make a dinner reservation. But they've got lots of different options, fresh seafood, they've got Italian food, all kinds of great stuff. So you won't go hungry. And if you don't want to eat out every meal, you can also cook in your room. And we thought we'd be cooking in our room more, but because the food was so good and so affordable, we ended up eating at the resort a lot, unless we were out on an excursion, kind of out and about in Acapulco, and then we ate out when we were out there. And the prices around Acapulco are incredibly reasonable, and the food is really good because it's a port town, so they've got fresh seafood, which is so delicious. And Acapulco, kind of has a reputation of, a place where a lot of American tourists think, oh, I don't know if I should go there. Is it safe? We felt safe. And we were smart about our choices. Every excursion that we did, we made sure to do our research ahead of time. But, we did a lot of stuff. We went out on a sunset cruise. We went shopping in downtown. We went to kind of this little market area. We went and saw the cliff divers, and the cliff divers are really famous, kind of a thing to go do in Acapulco, and it's amazing. So I, was terrified for them. Kind of the mom in me was having a heart attack, but it's just this amazing thing to watch. And, we never once felt unsafe. We did make sure, though, that the taxi drivers that we used to get to our various places you know, they would come up to the hotel, and so they would actually stay. So while we were out, you know, on our sunset cruise, they would actually stay in the marina and wait for us. So it was nice because then you knew that, you know, you had a ride home. And the Vidanta Resort isn't located in downtown Acapulco. It's it's on the water, but it's sort of over this mountain pass kind of thing and on the other side. So everything you do, you are going to have to drive. And so the taxis are pretty cheap, so get a taxi, but give yourself a fair amount of time. There is some traffic, and one of the roads, it's a little windy and it's kind of hard to get through. So if you get stuck, you know, behind a slow truck or something, it's gonna take a while. But, you know, your driver will stay with you, and every taxi driver we had was bilingual, so that was really nice. And, you know, they give you a lot of great information about the area. And so we had an incredible time in Acapulco. I highly recommend it. It is beyond beautiful and, you know, just picturesque, stunning. It's a place that we learned a lot of people from Mexico City actually go there on their holidays and long weekends because it's only a 3 or 4 hour drive. And so for them, this is kind of their fun vacation destination. And I completely see why, because it's gorgeous. And I liked it too because there weren't as many American tourists there, and that was kind of fun because, you know, I think a lot of people who are going to Mexico tend to go to Cancun or Cabo or Puerto Vallarta. So that was really neat to go somewhere that you didn't feel like you were just in a sea of other Americans, that, you know, you were kind of mingling with some locals and, you know, some people on holiday from Mexico City. So we thought that was really great. So about safety in Acapulco, one of the things that we heard is that, you know, the cartel is really active in that area, and, you know, are they gonna prey on tourists? And what we were told by the locals is that yes, there is a cartel, but they tend to stay away from the city itself. They're kind of up in the mountains more, and that they actually don't really mess with the tourists because that would affect the economy. So that, you know, as long as you're not foolish and, you know, I don't know, under the influence really late at night wandering the streets, you'll be fine. You'll be safe. You know, stick with your group, stick with your friends, stick with your driver, and you'll have a great time in Acapulco. There's a lot to do, and you can go fishing. You can go, of course, sightseeing, and, you know, the water is beautiful and warm because you're so far south, and we loved it. As far as the Vidanta Acapulco, I recommend it. Now, it's the reason we actually stayed at the Riviera Maya later, and I wasn't as thrilled with the Riviera Maya for a variety of reasons. There were things that I loved, but things that I didn't really like. So definitely watch that review if you're interested, if you're kind of weighing your options for Vidanta. But Vidanta Acapulco is awesome. I recommend it. I don't think it gets as many visitors as some of the other Vidantas because it's so far away, and because, you know, Acapulco isn't as well known to a lot of American tourists. But you should check it out. It's worth it if you do an exchange on your timeshare. I think the price, like I said, bang for your buck, is fantastic. So other things that the resort offered, like most resorts, is they have a full gym, a huge spa. I think Vidanta does their spas really well. That they're very spacious. You've got, you know, the saunas and the pools, and you can book massages and stuff like that. And so those are great. The massages are a little on the pricey side, especially compared to our experiences at the Hard Rock, where they tend to do more of, you know, resort credits and stuff like that to kind of balance out the cost of the treatments. So when we went and got massages, we actually got them on the beach for a lot less money. So I recommend doing that. But you know, if you want that luxurious spa experience, you have all of that at your fingertips at Vidanta Acapulco. Well, I thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, please make sure to comment below, or if you've been there yourself, share your experience and subscribe to this channel for more adventures in the future. Thank you.